Welcome, explorer. Still trapped in the backrooms, are you? Well, no surprise there. It's not like there's ever been any recorded escapes from this terrible place. But hey, maybe you'll be the first. Oh, sorry. The prospect just struck me as a little amusing. Don't mind me. Anyway, where were we on your long and winding journey deeper into oblivion? You've opened the door and walked into a new place. Below you, a floor made of dusty white tiles, like filed bone. Above, an unforgiving metal ceiling, with steel gates corroded with rust and dripping with deposits of crusted on. Well, you probably don't even want to think about that. The dirty brick walls standing on either side of you look ancient and chipped, in some places bearing the echoes of scratching fingernails. Pipes snake along the tops and bottoms of the wall, hissing and gurgling, cracks dribbling a thick black liquid that smells toxic and makes you feel dizzy to even look at. In the distance, machinery hums, whirs, sparks, and roars, like you're trapped in the belly of some great metal beast. Heat prickles on your skin. Did you see something move in the distance? You're not sure. All you know is that almost instinctively, your hand finds its way over to the revolver and the handful of bullets in your pocket. You sense that you might need them soon. Why wouldn't you need them after all? You've just walked into hell. Or as we call it around here, level 3 of the Backrooms. Do make yourself at home. After all, it might end up being your final resting place. You take a deep breath and start to walk deeper into the first corridor. The machinery seems to get louder and louder the deeper you get into the hall. It's the grinding, metallic embodiments of dread. If your fear could make a sound right now, it would be that exact sound. Silent Hill Otherworld, eat your heart out. You didn't realize just how much you valued your interactions with other human beings on previous levels until you got here. Level 3 is like if loneliness had big, hungry jaws, full of grinding, gnashing metal teeth. Incidentally, while there's no way for you to know this, Level 3 is actually one of the biggest levels that the Backroom has to offer. Its area is estimated to be a staggering 350 million square miles, which is over 14 times as big as the entire circumference of planet Earth. That's why your likelihood of actually running into other human beings in here is extremely low. But hey, keep your chin up. There are still plenty of other things you're way more likely to run into down here. You keep moving, trying to push out the sound and the fear. You've survived this far, that's gotta count for something, right? You keep repeating this like a mantra to yourself, hoping it'll give you strength as you approach a rusty iron door and pull it open with a high-pitched whining screech. The sound makes you cringe. Your time in the Backrooms has taught you that drawing attention to yourself around here is a very bad idea. So you try to stay discreet whenever possible. There are plenty of things down here you don't want noticing you, and it won't be long before you run into one of them. You pass through the endless matrix of grimy, bricked-up hallways. It reminds you a little of Level 0's complex and maze-like spatial layout, but with all the industrial grease and grime of Level 2. If you weren't almost sick to your stomach with fear, it might almost be nostalgic. You allow yourself a perverse little chuckle about that. What a strange experience this whole thing had been. Ironically, it really made you appreciate the life you ran away from. There is an eerie expansiveness to this place, but not much uniformity to each individual room and passageway between rooms. You keep pressing onwards, because you've learned by now that it's the only thing you can do down here. Sometimes you're walking through vast cavernous tunnels filled with hissing pipes. Sometimes it's passageways so narrow you need to enter a prone position and crawl along on your belly to avoid the seemingly ever-lowering ceiling. It's like a funhouse without any of the fun. You make your way into a slim, slimy corridor where you turn sideways and try to avoid the sludge dripping down the bricks. The very fact that you haven't seen anything yet somehow makes you even more nervous. The anticipation is bubbling over, knowing that somewhere in these millions of miles of hellish passageways and rooms, there are plenty of entities that want to hunt you down and teach you a new definition of agony. As you walk, you find a vast cavernous passageway with a curved metal roof. In the distance, you notice a metal grate, like prison bars, separating one half of the passage from the other. You approach the bars cautiously, looking at the darkness in the distance. Is that a single flickering light you can see beyond all the dark? Do you see someone standing in the light? You're really not sure. You get a little closer, practically touching the bars. That's when the shape in the distance disappears out of light. Gone. It's hard to explain, but there's something about these bars that fills you with dread. It's though when you look at them, you feel trapped. It's like you're locked in a big cage with huge invisible eyes staring in at you. You're being watched. But by what and why? Against all your better judgment, you try to get through the bars, but your body won't fit. You try to rattle the gate, trying to find some kind of lock or vulnerability in the metal, but you can't find anything. It won't budge. But hey, if it makes you feel any better, you won't be the first to be defeated by these supernatural bars. To the best of our knowledge, they're completely impervious to any kind of infiltration method. Lockpicking, brute strength, pliers, industrial flamethrowers, and even explosives. There's nothing you can do. So rather than pursuing the issue, you decide to cut your losses and continue your exploration. There's got to be more strange things to discover out here. Here's something you may have not known. The nickname for level 3 of the Backrooms is the Electrical Station, and you're about to find out why. As you pass through another slightly larger corridor, you notice that the pervasive noise of electricity and running machinery is even louder here. It feels almost like a drill boring into your skull. Every instinct in your body should be to run for the hills, but instead you move towards it, hoping that maybe finding out the source of this noise will reduce its power over you. You reach a heavy metal door slightly open. You grab the edge and force it to the side, grunting and straining all the way. On the inside of the room, you can see something that looks remarkably like an electrical substation. It's a huge, bizarre collection of different electrical mechanisms. Conductors, insulators, lighting arresters, so many wires and pulleys and gears, all twisting and burning, crackling with blue tongues of electricity. There are millions of rooms just like this all over level 3. Together they produce an incalculably large sum of electricity, blasting power across the millions of miles of tunnels and halls and rooms. You begin to wonder if, maybe, all these power stations that infest level 3 are what's keeping the flickering halogen lights on over the rest of all of the backrooms, like a heart pumping blood to all the organs and tissue around it. So many interesting theories are rushing through your head, but they're interrupted by the sound of a strange, almost human muttering, somehow still audible amidst the din of machinery. You turn to see a figure standing in the corner, shambling towards you out of the dark, teeth chattering, murmuring deranged nonsense. As it gets closer, illuminated by the glow of the machinery, you can see it fully and can't help but feel a little sick. It looks like a model of a human being made out of rotting hamburger meat. Its sallow eyes, its jagged, mismatched teeth. It reaches out, grasping with gnarled fingers. You're equal parts terrified and utterly repulsed. And the most horrifying part of it all, this creature was once a human being. Monsters like this are known as wretches. The exact science of how they come to be is unclear, but these entities were once people much like you, trapped in the backrooms, wandering around, racked with hunger, fear, and despair. Some people, the lucky ones, who starve in the backrooms, just die, and that's the end of it. But others enter what is known as the cycle of despair. The horror, pain, and longing they experience begins to leak out of their psyche and into their physical body, slowly warping them into rotting monsters that are so much less than the humans they once were. You don't have much time to just stare and gawk in horror, because the wretch charges towards you, arms extended like Frankenstein's monster. It claws at you, trying to grab your face, and you manage to clutch its wrists just in time. For something so decrepit, it's surprisingly strong. It cackles and growls insanely. It wants you. It wants your blood. Being in the backrooms has, if nothing else, strengthened your will to live. You won't die here. Not to this monster. Not to this other person who failed where you're going to succeed. You summon up all your energy and give the wretch a mighty push. It tumbles backwards onto the nexus of machinery behind it and begins convulsing horribly as the electricity courses through its body. You're transfixed. It screams and its body seems to glow, then boom! The wretch explodes, spraying you with a mist of awful rotten meat. The creature is dead. It feels like a special moment. You actually turned the tide on a Backrooms monster for once, and actually killed it. Maybe you don't need to run anymore. Maybe you're on top now. Then you hear the footsteps. More wretches, a whole group of them, alerted by the noise of their brethren's messy demise. They're after you now. Too many to fight, even if you whipped out your revolver and unloaded the cylinder into one of these freaks. Seems your running days aren't quite over yet. You turn tail and sprint off into the bowels of the level, hearing all those horrific meaty footsteps slapping on the ground behind you. You have a tried and true method by now. Run like hell until the chase stops. Worry about the painful buildup of lactic acid from not warming up later. There's very rarely time to stretch properly in the backrooms. When you come to a stop, you're finally safe. Well, as safe as a person can be down here. You take a moment to breathe. That horrific metallic grinding from the countless pieces of electricity-consuming machinery is giving you a migraine. You need to get out of this level. Forget the monsters. Even if you don't run into another entity in here, that noise is going to drive you insane. How can you be expected to get any sleep with that racket? All you can do is keep moving. You try doors. Many of them won't budge. You doubt that there's even something on the other side of most of them. You're getting exhausted. That feeling of being watched returns and becomes all-consuming. Is something following you? Your nerves are replaced by curiosity when you find a door that looks different. It seems like a way into a service elevator, except with no buttons to call it or open the doors. Instead, you pry open the door and slide it into the eerily well-lit cabin within. There are no buttons on the inside either, but when you're safely situated beyond the automatic door, it closes behind you. Tinny elevator music begins to play as the elevator moves and the sound of machinery becomes gradually more distant. Thank goodness for that, you think. The elevator rumbles to a halt. Silence for a moment, and you find yourself wondering what exactly is happening. Just when you begin to wonder if the door will never open, it does, and there's something very different on the other side. Want to stay tuned for the next exciting exploration into the backrooms as we delve deeper and deeper into the liminal abyss? Be sure to subscribe to the Backrooms Explained and turn on notifications so you never miss another expedition. Now go check out our other videos on the Backrooms Level 1 and the Backrooms Level 2 for more information on surviving this uniquely terrifying place.